Late winter, sad girl Epiphany book recs. So Bruiser Waney left me this comment asking for sad girl book recs based on Ripe, which I read 2 years ago, I think summer of 2023. In case you don't know or you didn't read the book, you can watch my original video. This is about a woman working in tech whose depression manifests as a black hole growing outside of her. So it's very metaphorical, but very, very crushing and very sad. It's about the weight of capitalism and like realizing that your life choices haven't necessarily worked out for you. It was very, very sad and very intense. First up, I have The Summer House by Alice Thomas Ellis. I never see anyone talk about this book or this author. She actually passed away in 2005. She was a British author, but this book I recommended with my Roni book recs, which I should repost. This is a series of 3 novellas that are interconnected because they all take place around a wedding. So one of them is the bride, one of them is the mother of the groom, and one of them is the mistress. I don't want to give too much away, but the first and third sections are some of the saddest writing I've ever read in my life. Very beautiful, very haunting, very evocative. I read this, I don't even know, I think 10 years ago at this point, but I cannot stop thinking about it, and I try to recommend it as often as I can. Next up is Mrs. Kimball. This is another author that I never see recommended on here, by Jennifer Hay. She wrote one of my favorite books of all time, Heat and Light. This is about a con man who marries 3 separate women, and each one of them is Mrs. Kimball, so the book is split into 3 separate parts. 2 of the wives are very, very, very sad, which is why I recommend this. The third section is not as necessarily sad and haunting as Ripe or the first 2 sections, but the writing is incredible, and it all builds up to like a very, very well done crescendo. Next up is The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. They just made this into a movie, actually. This is one of the saddest books I've ever read in my life, and it's very short. It is about a woman who inherits a dog after her friend passes away. He loses his battle with his mental health, unfortunately, and so she inherits this dog that is deeply sad, and I read this during a breakup in 2019, and I still remember one of the parts where it's like they can and do lose their minds, they can and do fall apart, and it like stuck with me forever and ever. Next up, I have The Gin Closet by Leslie Jameson. This is the only novel that she's ever written. If you follow me, you know that I'm obsessed with Jameson. I've read all of her books. This book lost a battle with my dog. But again, not necessarily heavy on the epiphany, but very, very, very sad. Oh, and this is about a woman who discovers that she has an aunt that no one in the family is in touch with. And when she meets her, she understands why. This is very, 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 very much about addiction and the throes of addiction and someone losing their battle with addiction. And it's just so, so deeply, deeply upsetting. Finally, more Epiphany, less sad girl, but still sad girl Epiphany. Win Me Something by Kyle Lucia Wu. I recommend all the time. I loved it. It was one of my favorite books of 2021. This is about a babysitter who's half Asian, and she's reckoning with her racial identity as she's like babysitting for this family on the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side. She really, really struggles with like reconnecting to her father and to his new family, but it is very beautiful and very well done. Heavy on the Epiphany. All This Could Be Different by Sarah Thunga Matthews. I read this at the beginning of 2024 and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Perfect, perfect, perfect writing. Very evocative, very Iowa, but very intense and beautiful and gorgeous. This is about a woman who moves to Michigan, I think, a very desolate city right after or during the financial crisis, and she's struggling with her queerness. She's dating a woman, but she's like making horrible choices and horrible mistakes and like is so trapped in her life and like the decisions that she's made that like she cannot see outside of them, but it is very, very well done. And finally, Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is much more sad than it is Epiphany. I actually have not finished it. I've been in the middle of this book for like a year now, but the writing is very evocative and very beautiful. I went really fast, so let me know if you have any questions on that, but I highly recommend all of these books. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of them.